desert. Tyson is sharpening his skills, looking to make Razor Ruddock another punching bag.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. Iron Mike and the Razor. Tyson against Ruddock. Monday night in Las Vegas. Not only are these heavy-hitting heavyweights ready to duke it out in the desert, you can count on the other givens at such a scene. The man with the hair and our man with the beard. Here's Charlie Steiner.
Thank you and welcome back to the Mirage in Las Vegas, where the final news conference took place today. It was a good news, bad news proposition. The good news was Don King had laryngitis.
You have to indulge me a little bit because my voice is going. I've been talking so much. I know you would love that.
The bad news was it didn't stop Don King and his co-promoter Murad Muhammad from talking. And talking. And talking.
Transfer his right to make a decision, his right to make a decision.
I thought it was never going to end.
The only real question of the day was the lack of sparring recently by Razor Ruddock. Was it a hand injury? Was it a matter of peaking too soon? What exactly was it?
We did a lot of sparring in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. We have close to 100 rounds of sparring. So when we came into Vegas, we were already prepared. So, you know, we are the one that training and we are the one that run the camp. And a lot of reporters, they're not trainers, they're reporters.
As usual, Mike Tyson didn't have much to say at this affair. As usual, he lets his fist do the talking.
Well, there's not much I can say. I'm just in great shape and I'm prepared to fight. And he made his opinion what he's going to do. I have totally different. And come, because I'm sure you'll like this, because I'm going to like this very much. Thank you.
Which is why Mike Tyson is listed a 5-to-1 favorite to beat Donovan Razor Ruddock on Monday night here at the Mirage. A reminder, tomorrow night on our 11 o'clock Eastern Time edition of SportsCenter, our Sunday night conversation is with Mike Tyson. And there he speaks a whole lot more than he did today. For now, I'm Charlie Steiner at the Mirage in Las Vegas. Let's go back to SportsCenter.
All right, Charles, thank you very much. And not only will that be Sunday night, also on Sunday Sports Day. So here Mike Tyson, as he said, you hear him like you've never heard him before, both in the morning and the evening here on ESPN. Round-by-round updates Monday night during the NAIA Championship game. And after the fight at SportsCenter, Charles will have both Evander Holyfield and George Foreman live. So telescopic coverage. We're out there on the Tyson-Ruddock fight. Tommy?
Mike Tyson and Razor Ruddock get it on for what effectively is a heavyweight elimination tournament. The winner will get a piece of either George Foreman or Evander Holyfield, more than likely sometime later in the year. One thing about Mike Tyson, who continues to be one of the most compelling personalities in all of sports, he is one intimidating character. Every fighter who goes in against Mike Tyson says he can beat him. Suddenly, though, come fight night, as he enters the ring, the eyeballs kind of enlarge, and so does the Adam's apple, and the knees begin to quiver. Mike Tyson is an intimidator.
My best way of psychological intimidation is by a physical force. Someone upsets Mike Tyson punches him in the face.
Mike Tyson, who continues to be a 5-to-1 favorite in tomorrow night's fight, which will take place a little more than 24 hours from now here at the Mirage in Las Vegas. Coming up tonight on the 11 o'clock Eastern Time edition of SportsCenter, the 1-hour edition, the Sunday night conversation is with mighty Mike Tyson. I'm Charlie Steiner at the Mirage, now with a cross-country bounce pass back to our studio.
Ruddock. Razor Ruddock. 2 straight knockouts. Big left hand, too. Almost killed Michael Dose. Everybody's saying I'm making a big mistake. Tokyo. Ruddock. Ruddock.
Tyson versus Ruddock. Live from the Mirage, March 18th. See it on pay-per-view cable TV.
You only scare people from hitting them. You don't scare them from just looking at them and marking them down and tracking them. You have to hit them. That's when they come intimidated. They're not intimidated. Once they get hit, then they become intimidated.
Time now for Ringside Report, our weekly magazine of boxing news. Brought to you tonight by Ace Hardware Corporation. Ace is the place. And welcome back to Bally's. We are joined now by Charlie Steiner, who, of course, you all know from ESPN Sports Center, and a man on the scene at all the big fights. Speaking of which, Charlie, where do you put this Tyson Ruddock fight amongst all the great fights? Are people really excited about this event?
I think they made a tactical blunder in planning the fight in the middle of the NCAA tournament. So there is some excitement being generated in town now, Barry, but it's a last-minute thing because all weekend long, all we've been seeing on television, the NCAAs, that's all we read about in the newspapers. Tomorrow is going to be fight day and fight night. Whether or not that's going to make it a great event certainly has not had the build-up of some of the others.
Well, if anything is going to make it a great event, it probably won't be a weigh-in. But they had one today. They have to have one. And it was kind of interesting to see the condition that Mike Tyson and Razor Ruddock came into for this bout.
Both men were in superb condition. Razor Ruddock was the first man to step on the scales today. He weighed in at precisely the place where he wanted to be, 228 pounds. You know, there was an awful lot of talk that he had not been sparring over the past 2 weeks, and the right hand was perhaps injured. He told me after the weigh-in, would you like to try the right hand? I said, well, thank you. But he's actually in terrific shape, and he appeared to be mentally very sharp and ready to go.
Yeah, if fitness wins fights, then you might say Razor Ruddock has a real chance in this fight. Mike Tyson, I'll tell you, I've seen him for a lot of fights, Charlie. He looks as good as I've ever seen him look.
And also, again, psychologically, he seems to be so at ease now. And I think we've talked about it both on and off the air over the years, certainly over the past year at any rate. The best thing in the world that may have ever happened to Mike Tyson was losing to Buster Douglas, because now he knows he has to work for a living. He can't just show up, and he is in terrific shape at 217.
You talk about his being loose, and I think any of you who watch SportsCenter right after Top Rank Boxing Tonight are going to get a good idea as to just how loose he is. Charlie Steiner sat down, had a long talk with him. Here's just a part, Mike talking about intimidation.
My best way of psychological intimidation is by a physical force. I mean, of course, the guys, you can talk, but the only real reality is when you get hit. That's the only real reality there, once you get hit.
I'm more motivated because it's Mike Tyson. I'm more motivated because he's one of a kind, and he's the only guy that can bring me to this level that he said he can beat me, and I know I can beat him. That's what I feel. And that's what gives me the motivation, to know that when he walks into the ring, it's going to be a war.
All right, Charlie, you've been around this fight now for the better part of this last week. How do you see it?
I see this very much like a Super Bowl. Mike Tyson is a team that's been there before. He's facing a team that hasn't been at the event stage before. If Razor Ruddock can get through the first 3 rounds, it's going to be terrific. I'm not sure he can.
Charlie, thanks for being with us. And watch the interview. Outstanding interview with Mike Tyson. That's on SportsCenter right after Top Rank Boxing. If anybody cares about the Tyson-Ruddock fight, we care. Let's talk about it. How do you see it?
Well, I think it's going to be a very intriguing matchup, and I think it's possible that for as long as it goes, Barry, it could be a pretty wild affair. I have a feeling that Ruddock may hit him with a left uppercut or left half hook uppercut and maybe get Mike Tyson's respect a little bit early in the bout. But Tyson will come and keep coming. And the big wild card is whether that Ruddock right hand is bothering him. Personally, I think it must be. They've sparred so little in the last couple of weeks, and I think that could hinder him.
You know, I keep hearing things like, if Ruddock can do this and if Ruddock can do that. And when I hear things like that, those are buzzwords to me. Those say, we're trying to make a case, we're trying to sell this guy. Frankly, I really sort of think that this is kind of a mismatch. I think it's Mike Tyson, I think it's Mike Tyson early, and I think it's Mike Tyson convincingly. But what do I know?
Hi, and welcome to the Mirage in Las Vegas. Charlie Steiner in the room in which 7 hours ago, Donovan Razor Ruddock and Mike Tyson weighed in for tomorrow night's fight, which will take place about 24 hours from right now. We'll tell you about our coverage for tomorrow night a little bit later. First, let's tell you about today's weigh-in. And Donovan Razor Ruddock was the first to step on the scale. Of course, Donovan Razor Ruddock, by way of Jamaica, now lives in Toronto, weighed in exactly where he wanted to be, at 228 pounds, and his hand, he says, is okay. Much has been made about the doubts, not sparring down the home stretch, possibility of perhaps an injury to your right hand. You have an opportunity to tell the world how you're feeling.
Do you want to feel the right hand?
Not right now, thank you.
Oh, okay, well, it's good. It's good. The doctor checked me out, and they find out it's good.
And then there was Mike Tyson, who is fit psychologically and physically. He weighed in at 217 pounds, and he is primed and ready to go. Mike, what is your reaction to your weight? You clearly were happy at 217.
I'm just in great shape, and I'm prepared for the fight. Can't wait till tomorrow night.
Any feelings one way or the other toward Donovan Razor Ruddock at this point?
Nothing personal, just business. I'm going to like this very much tonight, very much.
Just business. Donovan Razor Ruddock is got about 4 inches in height and about 9 inches in reach, and for that reason, Ruddock and his camp feel reasonably optimistic about the outcome tomorrow night. But the story clearly is Iron Mike Tyson. Of course, he prefers to go by Mighty Mike Tyson now, and he is the star of the show. Make no mistake about that. This is, in effect, a heavyweight elimination tournament. Tomorrow night's winner more than likely will meet the winner of the Holyfield-Foreman fight sometime later in the year. But again, Mike Tyson is the story. And one of the things that we have learned about Mike Tyson in recent weeks, he is new, he is improved, and he is certainly a more mature and relaxed man and fighter, perhaps more so than ever before, as we found out in our Sunday night conversation.